Welcome to Creatively Exposed, a podcast and safe space for Black and marginalized creatives to empower, educate, and uplift you through the final product of self and creation. Bring a homie, share with a homie, and enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, so the sound may be off because I don't have my headphones and I'm on my phone. So I'm not on my usual microphone, but I wanted to check in and kind of slowly recap this strange season, right? Because it's been bi-weekly, it hasn't been as weekly. And literally right now I'm in between projects and all kinds of stuff. But I've been thinking about the concept of how rest is viewed, right? And also what is productivity? Because I don't know if you have, but I know for me it has been hard to find productivity in the stillness. And so lately it's finishing up stuff but not really being inspired by anything. And also, what do you do with reaching certain goals or unexpected blessings come in regards to the work that you want to do long term, but it just doesn't feel like anything, right? And I think that's also part of the creative process that needs to be discussed. It's how do you sit and absorb the goals that you have reached? How do you celebrate the things that need celebrating, as in publishing an article, getting accepted, whatever it is, right? Having, as an artist, being in a gallery or whatever it is, right? Getting paid for creative work, which a lot of us, including myself, it felt like a pipe dream. It felt like something intangible. But as I dive further into the creative space, I realize it's not so far-fetched. It's not, you're not crazy. You are not crazy. So just all of these things, right? All of these things that I'm using. And what I've slowly began to realize, because it's not past tense, is that sometimes there isn't anything to create. Sometimes it's things that need to be experienced. Life needs to be fully immersed in. Sometimes being overly connected to the social world has allowed me to forget the real world in a sense. Busyness can also be depleting, right? There's not enough space for new things if there's too much that's being done so far. And so between the eclipses and the moons and all of these insane astrological transits, if you hear anything random, it's my dog in the background, my mom's dog basically. Finally, sir, thank you. So sometimes when doing too many things at once, and they can be fulfilling, right? Like there are things that are so fulfilling, but you do have the right to be tired and like soul tired and exhausted and just not feeling anything to the point that you're numb. And it's like, hey, today the universe kind of told me like, hey, reconnect to being still, to sleeping, to resting. If you're not in the US, it is somebody's holiday. Like the fact that I have an extra day, which I'm grateful for, right? Off from like day work. It's like I want to fit in all of these things. But like, how do you fit stuff in if you don't even have the energy to do it? So, what if we viewed, and you know when I say we, I'm talking to me and I'm also talking to anybody this is hitting, right? What if we viewed rest, idle time, and reconnecting to either being with the people that fill our own cup and reconnecting to ourselves and also nature. Like I'm currently in a space where there's like a leafy backyard and all of these things, and I just had the moment to sit back there, which I don't do when I'm home. And that in itself was like, wow, I feel slightly regenerated. You know, it's like kind of like Super Mario eating a mushroom, right? And being able to be like, all right, we're ready to make these things happen. And so how do we ease the guilt of not creating? And I think the answer to this, which my answer, right, not the answer, is literally remembering, wow, okay, it's my mama's answer actually, because I asked her something. I tend to look very far in the future, right? To the point that I forget what it's like to be in the present moment. And what she said is like, sometimes humans tend to overcomplicate life, you know? It's good to have goals, it's good to have all that stuff, but like, you could just be. You could literally just be and go into your day to day and, you know, yes, have a plan and work towards some of that, but also have ways to turn off the machine that is the need to create things that have an outcome, right? Like, a lot of my unlearning and kind of how I have to keep unlearning is just because there's no, you know, kind of like exchange of resources every time you're doing something, doesn't mean it's not worth it, right? It doesn't mean that we're not worthy of rest. It doesn't mean that simply being in the moment, sitting and tapping back into life, doesn't mean we're lazy or procrastinating. Even if you are, like, there's a reason behind why you haven't moved forward. Sometimes it's because we're doing too much and that's overwhelming and we need to start doing less. And that's me talking to myself as well. But it's also, you're probably tired. You're probably tired as hell. I know I am. You know, creating a hustle is not a joke, especially, if you're multi-creative, multi-passionate, I think is what they call it now, where it's like, picture a week, right? Like, you work maybe 8 hours, sometimes you work more if you have a day job. Then in the evening, it's sometimes fitting in feeding yourself, because we need to do that, creating things, catching up on projects, and then somehow, like, you gotta go to sleep and do the same thing again. Then if you want to, like, see one of my weekends, it's slanging crystals, right? Like, not meth, actual, like, healing crystals, rose quartz, amethyst, etc. But where do I exist in that? Where does human me, who needs downtime, who needs rest, who needs fun, who needs, grandma time and mom time and, like, friend time and introvert time of just being by myself, where does that fit? And so I think this, outside is open, the bandwidth that we used to have, at least for me, like, that bandwidth is low. Like, it is low. Like, days, consecutive time outside is like a marathon now. And that's, it's a privileged thing that, I was able to be indoors for so long. But you also have to be very gentle of trying to, jump back into what you used to do, either by choice or, a lot of companies are pretending everything's over and, you got to start going to work in person. Wherever you can ease into things, do that. Take your time. I feel like we microwave our life, right? Like, reheat instead of, like, sit and savor and season and take time, really sitting with the experience that is the only life that we will get to live. Because even if we do get reborn, we don't know that until we're there again, right? And so the guilt is somebody else's bullshit that told us that we are unworthy unless we are producing something, which in spirituality, and that's such a weird way of me phrasing this, but, like, spiritually, you were born worthy, right? And the world, society, capitalism, everybody has told you the opposite. It's like, no, you have to prove that you are. You have to convince that you are. And so begin one thing at a time, right? Like, all right, I work, a 10-hour day. Maybe one day you don't do all 15 things in the same night. Even in therapy, like, the ending note was like, I don't have to figure it all out today. And it feels like the easiest thing in the world to say. But I have to consistently remind myself that. And I think part of I don't have to have it figured out in a day is you can't complete everything in a day. You could try, and maybe you do, right? But, like, at the expense of your sleep, your rest, your peace of mind, unless you're super inspired and you have all of the energy to do it. So it's okay to be easeful. It's okay to slow down. Some